Did you know that the planets represent characters in a royal court? Today we are going to examine the planets in a whole new light. First of all, my name is Gina from Her Cosmic Crown. Welcome back to my channel. Before I discuss the signs and the meaning behind those signs, it's important that we understand the 9 planets, because without knowing about these 9 planets, it's harder to grasp the meaning of the different signs. And then also it's important to know the description of each planet, because if a planet is in the 3rd house, well, we need to know what that planet signifies and what that house signifies as well. Each planet represents a level of consciousness. It represents something in our lives, a descriptor, a person, a thing in our life. We can think of our natal charts and the planets in the charts as this cosmic play that's written, produced, created, directed by source. By analyzing the signs and the houses in which our planets fall within our charts, we can better understand our lives. We can better understand the path that we're on, the lessons that we're here to learn, our psychological complexes. We can understand our own character in a more holistic way, or a well-rounded way. And studying our charts allows us to see kind of what's in store for our character. So truly deepening our understanding about the planets can help us identify potential joy, successes, struggles, roadblocks that we may encounter, and bring us closer to alignment. Because wherever these planets are placed, these represent our chakras, and we want them to be aligned so that we are flowing with life better, so we don't have to learn as many lessons, so we don't have to face as many hardships. The first one is the sun. The sun in our charts represent a noble king who delegates tasks to the people in the kingdom. He oversees the kingdom. He needs to make sure that the kingdom and the people in it are working well, right? And the king has a vision for life. So he has this vision. He knows where he's going in life. He knows what his kingdom should look like. And so he brings other people on board so that this vision gets realized. So that's why oftentimes the sun represents leadership positions, powerful positions, and entrepreneurs, people who basically are the boss. The sun is all about making the world a better place. The sun is a noble planet, so it wants to do good, even though the sun can be very harsh. So sometimes he has to make sacrifices. He has to make these strategic demands, and he has to, make certain orders that not everyone's going to be happy with. But he sees the overall vision. He says, okay, you might not see where I'm coming from right now, but you don't understand that there's an army about to attack us. So that's why I'm making this decision, right? Or whatever the case may be. The sun, when it comes to our charts and astrology, it shows who we uniquely are. The sun doesn't copy other people. He's just uniquely who he is as an individual. He's confident and he goes after his inspiration. And in our charts, it represents our father or father figure, our career, our different responsibilities, our authority or relationship to authority, our ingenuity, our ability to come up with genius and brilliant ideas, our inspiration, and so much more. The second planet is the queen. The sun represents the king and the moon represents the queen. And the queen is able to do more things. She's flexible, she's adaptable. The sun is more rigid, the sun is more consistent on his path. He has a vision and he's sticking to it. whereas the queen sees different things that come in and is able to be more adaptable and say, hey, this isn't quite working out. Now the queen is also the leader. The moon is also the leader, and she leads from a more intuitive place. The sun is more about facts, it's more about objectivity, and the moon is more subjective. And the moon has to do with being more sensitive to the needs. And when it comes to the royal palace, the queen is very sensitive about the needs of the kingdom. So what does the kingdom need? What do the people need? How can we make these people happier? How can I be happier? So she's looking at things from a more internal state. And the moon in our charts has to do with our psyche. It has to do with our mind. It's our conditioned consciousness, basically. So it's what we've been conditioned, what we've been programmed to be, basically, and to feel. The moon makes important judgment calls based on what is needed in the kingdom, and she adapts. The moon represents, as I mentioned, our conditioned consciousness, our mother or mother figure, our emotions, our happiness. It represents the home and our environment and our personality, our needs, our likes and dislikes, and so much more. The third planet is Mars. So Mars is the general or the soldier. He is there to protect the kingdom. And he is the fighter, or he leads the army. The sun or the king gives the vision to Mars, to the warrior, and says, hey, this is what needs to happen. And the general leads his troops to battle, and it's based on the commands from the sun. So if we have a strong sun in our chart who has a vision and a strong sun, they can work together, and that the Mars executes that vision. It takes action towards the vision of the sun. So he executes and, destroys anything that gets in the way, destroys and fights, and does what he needs to do so that vision, the vision of the sun, gets accomplished. Mars is very disciplined, and he doesn't just attack just to attack. He doesn't just get angry for no reason. He's very slow to anger. He has this righteous anger, and he wants to fight, and he likes challenges, right? When Mars is healthy, he likes to, he likes challenges. It fires him up. And so Mars is there to take action, and he represents our willpower as well, and our ability to restrain, right? Mars has to do with our ability to restrain from punching someone in the face, if we're angry, or so Mars has to do with our ability to restrain, and then also our willpower saying that I'm going to do this as well. Mars is also very logical, very strategic, and he has to do with fixing problems. So he doesn't mind problems because he needs to tackle them. He needs to resolve them. There's more to Mars, but that's Mars in a nutshell. The fourth planet is the young prince Mercury, who is excellent in many ways. And he's knowledgeable of the rules, the precepts, and is talented. He's very talented, skillful. He also knows how to communicate the goals and needs of the kingdom. He's also the artist or the artisan, or he can be an apprentice, someone who is learning a skill. Mercury likes to have fun. It's a very light-hearted planet. So he likes to have fun. He sees the lighter side of life, which we need to, because things can get super heavy. So Mercury represents that lightness. He represents balance and efficiency. So when a person has a strong Mercury in their chart, they're able to make life work out for them somehow. Mercury represents our skills and abilities, our communication, our progress in life, friends, games, and investigation, our ability to investigate and learn new things and explore and try new things. And he represents much more as well. The fifth planet is Jupiter. Jupiter is the king's spiritual or philosophical guru. He's the advisor of the king. So goodness and wisdom flow through him. And the king consults the advisor or guru for wisdom. He wants more wisdom. So Jupiter is this noble planet that wants to also help make the world a better place. He has a lot of purpose. He makes meaning of life. He can see like the bigger picture, and he just wants to give joy. He wants to give joy, giving wisdom, and spread that. And so Jupiter represents, can represent a husband. It can represent creativity, children, wealth, spiritual, religious, philosophical gurus, charity, being giving, and he represents more as well. The sixth planet we're going to talk about is Venus. Venus can be the teacher. So Venus can teach something in the kingdom, but he's not a teacher like Jupiter is. Jupiter is more of the philosophical teacher. Venus has more knowledge when it comes to practical matters, and he's the teacher of non-religious or philosophical principles. So Venus also represents diplomatic relationships. So Venus could be kind of like the diplomat in the kingdom, and he has a certain way of speaking that is graceful, that is kind of music to other people's ears, that's sweet. So Venus represents the diplomat. He knows the right way to say things that can kind of sway people a certain way. Also, Venus can represent the nurse, to nurture things, to make things better. And so Venus could also represent the nurse in the kingdom, the nurturer. Also, Venus represents entertainment in a way, and it can represent the poet who makes meaning where there's no meaning. So the poet can be literally someone who makes poems and recites poems, or it could just be, it could be that advisor who's able to interpret what someone says. Someone can speak very nicely, very flowery, and the person with that strong Venus is able to interpret what that really means, what they're really trying to say. Venus represents many things, but some of the things Venus represents are relationships, win-win situations, self-worth, comforts, nature, beauty, charm, vehicles, prosperity, meaning getting what you need when you need it, and things like that. The seventh planet is Saturn. Saturn is the help in the kingdom, and the help is very important because they help to clean and protect the kingdom from diseases. Saturn gets rid of things that are no longer needed, things that are trash, and that's how Saturn operates in our life. It removes trash, it removes relationships that are no longer for us, jobs that are no longer for us, people that are no longer for us. Saturn is the planet of detachment. It teaches us to detach from things, and he's actually getting rid of things to protect us and to make, space for new things that we're ready to have. We're ready to level up. And the thing about Saturn is if we have an afflicted Saturn, we might get attached to something that we need to let go of, right? So we're like, oh, I really wanted that job, or I really wanted that relationship, but Saturn's like, no, let's get rid of it. So with Saturn is teaching us to detach from those things. According to Vedic mythology, Saturn is the son of the sun, right? And so he is the kind of unwanted and not validated son. Okay, so he doesn't really recognize his son. Like, the son knows that's his son, but he doesn't acknowledge him. He's playing with his other kids. And, you know, Saturn is over here in the kingdom and, you know, sweeping and taking care of stuff. And that is painful. You can imagine how painful it is not to be recognized by your own father. So Saturn represents our pain. It represents our suffering and trauma. So we can look at a person's chart and immediately identify a lot of their trauma and pain. And so what Saturn wants us to do is learn to detach from that. Because what Saturn is, it represents the human experience that we all have to deal with. And that is pain. That is the pain that comes from separation. You know, it has to do with death and longing for the people that have passed on. And it represents our fears as well. So Saturn is here to teach us a lot. And it's an incredibly important planet. A lot of people are very fearful of Saturn, but he is important. Saturn represents losses, limitations, diseases, our weaknesses, our challenges, our pain, and so much more. And the last two planets that I'm going to discuss are Rahu and Ketu, which are the north and south nodes of the moon. So these aren't visible forces like the other planets. They're mathematical points based on the cycles of the sun and the moon that influence eclipses. Rahu is the foreigner. So it's this foreigner who arrives to the kingdom. And if you are a foreigner, or if you've encountered a foreigner, which we all have, that person has an unusual way of doing things. They, you know, they have a different way of speaking, even if it's the same language. Their accent is different. They have a different way of doing things. Their habits are different, and it's just something unusual where you're scratching your head. And so that's what Rahu represents in our charts. He represents the new things. He represents uncharted territories. And, you know, he can represent strange things that happen in our lives. But Rahu is there to make us grow, because without going into that Rahu experience, we stay stagnant. So Rahu represents the new things that we are here to explore in our life. And Rahu represents things that we're uncomfortable with, things that are confusing, new things that we're developing, our spiritual growth, false impressions, and it represents delays as well. And Ketu represents the things that we're used to. Ketu represents someone who is in a particular society, but they are not 100% accepted into that, you know, society or whatever. And Ketu in our charts exemplifies our past lives, our ancestors, what we're comfortable with, our limitations, our liberation, and what we're letting go of this lifetime. Thank you so much for joining me today and watching my video. If you want to learn more about what I do, please subscribe to my channel. You can also visit my website at www.hercosmiccrown and check out more information. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.